And we do still have a couple of people coming on the line as we speak, but we will be recording this. So if you have anybody that would like to see this that had missed it, we can certainly email out the recording later on. As I had mentioned earlier, there is a question box to the right-hand side. If you do have questions, please ask them as they occur to you, and I will try to address them at the end of the presentation. There is also a handout, so there should be a tab to your right-hand side that says Handouts, and the handout is called Reputation Management Checklist. So if you would download that before you get off the line, and I will stay on for a few moments afterwards, that would be great, and it'll walk you through some information. If you do forget to download it, please let me know. My email has gone out in the confirmation. Please let me know, and I would be happy to email it out to everybody. So reputation management is extremely important. And I don't think a lot of people in a lot of businesses realize just how important it is in this day and age where everything is online, and your whole reputation of your business can be made or break online. So one of the most important things you can do first is to register your business name on social media accounts, because realistically, if someone wanted to do your business damage, they could register a Facebook business page as yourself, for example, or they could register a Twitter handle as your business, and then they could start bad-mouthing you. They could start bad-mouthing customers, saying inappropriate things. So it is important to reserve those accounts online, even if you're not going to use them, to actually start them and just have those in place. And then the other thing is, if you do have someone talking about your business on Twitter, for example, and they do say something online that you need to respond to, even if it's complimentary, at least you then have the account set up so that you can go in and actually respond to them at that point. Now, in the reputation management checklist, this is kind of an overview of all of the different accounts that this checks. You can enter your business name, and it will actually tell you which of these platforms that name has already been taken on. You should also check your personal name as well. You do not need to register them on all of these different ones, but I would recommend registering it on the major ones. Facebook, Twitter definitely, Pinterest possibly. That's kind of an iffy one in terms of reputation management, because people don't do reputation management on Pinterest, but it can be a good idea to reserve that name. And definitely Google Plus. If your business has a Google Plus listing, more specifically, if your business has a brick and mortar business, you should really reserve your Google Plus listing, primarily because you can respond to reviews on it. Now you can set up Google Alerts about your name and your business name. And I would also suggest setting them up using quotes, because you'll get a better return on your results using quotations. So if you had Jane Doe Construction, for example, and you put those in quotes, it will return you better results instead of Jane and then Doe and then construction. There's another one out there called talkwalker.com. Unfortunately, I believe they just went to a paid profile. But Google Alerts are free, and you can set up as many of them as you want. I would also suggest setting up a Google Alert for your own personal name as well, because there have been instances where if you have a common name, like myself, Heather Turner is a fairly common name, and you have someone else that's in the news that may live in a neighboring town, for example, and there's no photo, that person may get misconstrued as being you for whatever reason. So you really need to be aware of that and know that that is going on. And what I would do, and I would do this fairly frequently, I would say at least once a month, go to Google, go to Bing, go to Yahoo, all the major search engines, and Google yourself and Google your business. Google Alerts will pick up on the vast majority of news pertaining to yourself and your business. And you also want to be aware of things that you may not be aware of, like you just won an award for something, for example, or you hit the news as a reference to something. Even if it's not necessarily negative, you do want to be aware of it from the positive aspect. But Googling yourself and your business will let you at least know where you are reputation management wise, and also where you are for search engine optimization purposes. Again, just like Google Alerts, put your name and your business name in quotes, and you can add some variables. So Jane Doe Construction in quotes plus Charleston, North Carolina, for example, to get more specific. And I'd also look for some former people that worked with you, for you. If you had a partner, perhaps that's gone on to do something else, put those people, especially if they were important to your business, in Google Alerts as well, because it is important to keep on top of what's happening. If you had an employee, for example, or a former business partner, for example, that went on to get indicted in 2 years for money embezzling, for example, and just to throw the worst case scenario out there, it's best to be aware of that, because when that news comes up about that business partner, just as an example, they're going to be digging into his or her past history. And the odds are that your name is going to come up, or your business name is going to come up associated with that, is also going to come up. And then it may possibly be time, even though it's not your business personally in the news, that you personally might need to publicly distance yourself from that. And you wouldn't know about that unless you had actually seen it online and were aware that it was going on. Now, it is important too, is if you do register things on social media, and I know everybody hates social media because people do need to keep it up to date, but keep it up to date. Mostly if you're going to advertise it. If you're going to register a Facebook business page and then you're not actually going to link it off of your website, you don't really need to worry about it. But if you have a business website and you say, follow us on Facebook, become a fan on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, find us on Google+, and then you had started these accounts, you had posted them, and then you've abandoned them, don't leave the link on your website or any of your other media, including any print things. Now, this is important from a reputation management perspective, because if someone goes to your website and more people will go to someone's website, and instead of actually looking at the website first, they will go to your social media first, and they check out your Facebook page and you haven't posted in several years. That doesn't give a good impression of your business, because the first impression is, well, if they're not paying attention to their marketing, are they going to pay attention to actually what they're doing for products or services, which is a good point. So if you're going to start these and abandon them, that's fine, but just don't advertise that those are out there. Now, Facebook, for example, is an interesting conundrum. It changes what people can do or businesses can do on a pretty much daily basis. They've rolled out 3 changes just in the past week, and I understand there's some more major ones being rolled out. So if you have Facebook business pages, be prepared in advance for some more changes coming out. It's better to know that than not know it. Now let me go back here for a second. Right here, as you can see, there's a messaging tab. You do have the ability to shut this messaging tab off. So if you have a Facebook page and you do use it sporadically, but you don't pay attention to it very often, or you're not on it frequently, I would really suggest that you uncheck this. And this is important because if someone has a complaint about something and they send you a message through Facebook, they really want it to be responded to right away, Because if they send you a private message and you don't respond, what they'll do is they'll post it publicly on your page, which is a bit harder to get rid of. You can get rid of it, but the odds that they're also going to go over to some other review site and put it somewhere where you cannot remove the review are that much greater. So again, if you're not going to use Facebook a lot and you do have the business page, I would really suggest you disable this. Facebook recently rolled out some new things about the messaging tab where it actually says it will tell people how long it takes you to respond to a question. So again, if you're not on there all the time and you took 2 weeks to respond to someone's last request on here, that's actually going to show up publicly now. Now, one thing that is apparent in here is Facebook has star reviews, and you might have reviews going back that don't have any particular descriptions in them, but they just have stars. And you can't edit, you can't delete these, unfortunately. The only way that you can do is if you have, for whatever reason, you have bad star ratings. When Facebook first rolled the star ratings out, they were kind of playing with us. So it appeared to people in the top right of their personal Facebook profiles, to people completely unrelated to the business, and it was kind of intrusive, so people would just click on it to make it go away. So if you ever got a bad star rating from someone, you're like, we had no idea who this person is, that would be why. And unfortunately, you can't get rid of this. But if you do happen to get into the news, for example, or you have a bad experience with someone and they start putting and encouraging their friends to put bad star ratings on your page, you can't remove the star ratings completely, but you can hide them. And the way to do this is you go into your About section, and underneath in your About section is a map. And underneath that, there's a little check mark that says Hide Star Ratings from the page. That will only hide them from the page. If you ever uncheck this, the ratings boxes will reappear again. Now, Twitter is rather an important one because people do tweet about businesses all the time. And it's kind of a 50-50 split in terms of people will tweet publicly about a business. I had a great time at this restaurant. I had a terrific haircut at this particular hair place. As negatively, but it is important because people do want responses on here. The nice thing is Twitter used to have a deal with Google where tweets got picked up by search engine optimization, or it got picked up by what was called the Google Fire Hose. A couple of years ago, Google dropped this partnership, but they've re-enabled it again. So if someone tweets about your business, there's a good chance that your Google alerts will actually pick up on that, but you really should be monitoring this as well. You can go into Twitter. You don't have to create a Twitter account in order to monitor it. You can type into the search bar in Twitter itself, search Twitter for my business name, and then you might find that people have been saying things about you and your business, and that actually has frequently happened that you may not even know about. Now, Google Plus is an important one because Google reviews are tied into quite a few things. You can respond to Google reviews. You cannot get rid of them, unfortunately, but if you do have someone that's left a review and is blackmailing you, for example, or has left something and perhaps, and this does happen occasionally, went to a hairstyling place and there's another hairstyling place right down the road and they got the wrong one and they left a review on the wrong business page, you can report that. There are several ways to do that. And on the review itself, you'll see a little flag and we'll give you a bunch of options that will walk you through how to remove the review. So as you can see, and then it'll go into more detail. Now, responding to reviews is very, very important. And why is this important from a reputation management aspect? It doesn't matter what platform the review is on, because if someone has a bad experience or someone has an experience that's not 100%, you want to respond not just to them, because at that point, that response is you want to get them back as a customer, you want to fix the problem, But it's not just for the customer, it's for literally the thousands and thousands and thousands of other people that are going to read that review once it's been posted. Now, if you do happen to get someone on Google Plus that's a troll, for example, or that posts something that's slanderous, you can report and block them on Google Plus. You can report and block people on Twitter and Facebook as well. Now, just on Facebook, if someone leaves a nasty comment, a nasty review, a nasty post on your Facebook page, for example, Facebook has the ability to actually hide that post from them. So you're not deleting it, which I would really not suggest, but it lets you hide it. So they still think it's posted, but no one else can see it but them and you and their friends. But their friends won't actually go over to the page to see it. But if someone has a legitimate gripe, for example, say they got the wrong product, you want to actually leave that review public and respond to it. Don't try to fix it online. That's the first thing you don't want to do. You want to say, we're sorry that this happened. Please contact us. Here's the phone number, or if you prefer to do email, which I don't recommend putting out there, but please contact us as soon as possible so we can resolve this issue. Short, sweet, to the point. Because if you get into a conversation with someone, that can actually affect your reputation management even worse. Because what might have happened is someone that was not satisfied with a product or service, if you get into discussion with them on Facebook, for example, about, well, no, you misunderstood the price, for example, and then they respond and you respond, and all of a sudden there's other people jumping into this conversation, it doesn't look good, and it encouraged trollish behavior between actually the reviewer itself and between other people at that point participating in it. Now, this is really important because a negative review or comment on any site can lose companies as many as 30 customers. And that's not just 30 customers long term, that's 30 customers per year. Now, depending on what you're selling, product or service, 30 customers, especially if they could be potentially repeat customers, that's an awful lot of business. Now, reputation management, for example, is not just about online, it's about offline too. And why do I say that? Because say you have a business, for example, and you want to help advertise what you're doing, no matter what it is. And so you want to promote, hey, we just had some great people come into my business, my hair salon, my furniture store, whatever it is, and you want to help promote the business. Always, always, always ask permission of all of the people that you're going to photograph, and also include people that are behind them. And if you can get written photo permission from them, it's best to get it written if possible. Because the reason being, many times photos have gone back to haunt people and they're not even aware of it. Just for an example, that that person that you're photographing that might have come into your gift shop with someone else maybe shouldn't necessarily be walking around with that other person, for example. I could tell you some horror stories, but only if you'd like to listen later. And this is important too. If you're photographing a group of people, be cognizant of the people that are behind these people. And I will give you an example of this. I know a company recently who spotted a photo on a website for a local restaurant whose vice president of sales was having a drink with the competition's president. And this was kind of a big deal because they shouldn't have been talking to each other. And this was actually caught on film and put on the restaurant's Facebook page, of which the owner, whose vice president was having the drink with the competition, happened to be a fan of this restaurant. Boy, did this restaurant hear about that. The other thing is, what is your local chamber saying about you? And not just chambers, but associations. And 99% of the time, your local chamber, your local association, they are saying good things about you. That's what they're paid to do. And that, as chambers and associations, that's what they're supposed to do. They're here to promote local businesses. But you should also know in what order you're being recommended. And I know Lenny's probably going to kill me for saying this, but you should really have someone cold call your local chamber. So if you belong to 3 chambers, for example, or 2 chambers or 1 chamber or a business association, have somebody cold call that particular place and ask for recommendations. Because you may not know, in someone's mind, maybe that doesn't know you, for example, but they had your competitor stops into the local chamber office once a week and gets to know the chamber, people pretty well. And I'll actually give you a example of this. Up in New Hampshire, the chamber that I used to belong to had a couple of B&Bs that were chamber members. And one B&B owner used to stop in once a week, say hi to the staff, bring them cookies all the time, socialize with them, and they got to know them really, really well. And the chamber itself up there, very, very good chamber, non-biased people at all. But what the chamber staff was doing was when people would say, well, I'm looking for a place to stay, what would you recommend? The first place that would pop out of their mouths was the person that they know. So it's important because you don't know what's top of mind. And it's not necessarily a negative thing that's coming out of the chambers or association's mouth. It might be something because they're not aware of who you are. So I would actually really recommend, stopping into your local chamber, meeting the executive director, meeting any staff, explaining to them who you are and what you do, so that when people do ask for recommendations, they can actually realistically, say, hey, that's a really nice guy. He does a great job at woodworking. I mean, they'll say that anyway, but it's more confident and it's more honest because they actually have met you, for example, and they can put a name to your face rather than just a renewal notice in the mail every year. Now, what are your employees saying about you? And this is kind of even harder, and it's even more of a conundrum, because not only do you have to manage and monitor what customers or clients or potential customers or clients are saying about your business, but you have to be monitoring what your employees are saying about you. And although that gets into a little bit of employee stalking, that can be important because what your employers are saying can negatively impact and negatively reflect upon your business. And I'll give you another example of this. I work with a lot of B&Bs, and it was brought to my attention by someone else that I know that there was a B&B assistant innkeeper up in Maine, for example. They are in Maine, were in Maine, that was tweeting negatively about guests. And the B&B up in Maine I happen to know quite well, and I let them politely know about this, and they let the woman go. But the woman was saying on Twitter negative things like, oh, our guests were awful, they were so demanding, and really, mean things, and specific naming the inn. And in her Twitter profile, it actually said where she worked and what she did. So people were picking up on this stuff, and my friend the innkeeper had no idea about this. Now, this kind of thing can come back and haunt people. This is probably one of my favorite examples. If you Google Damien Cardone, his name will still come up on the front page of Google. And this was quite a few years ago now, but it made a big impact on the restaurant that he worked at. He posted this, and sorry about the wording, but he posted this on Facebook publicly on his personal account. But anybody that was on Facebook, because it was public on his personal account, could read it. And they took lots of screenshots. And he went on to say nasty, nasty stuff about people that were gluten-free, and it really hit the news big time. And the sad part of this was that the guy that he worked for, this was this little restaurant out in the Midwest, Poor little guy was about 80 years old, had no idea that this was going on. He didn't know that this was impacting his restaurant's reputation until CNN was calling him and CBS and the major news outlets. So he had a lot of recovery to do after this, because one of his cooks, who did actually even wasn't a cook, he was apparently a waiter, was posting this kind of junk on Facebook. Now, Yelp is another one that you need to pay attention to. I would not recommend paying for Yelp, but I do recommend claiming your Yelp page, or if you don't have one, setting one up. If you don't have a Yelp page set up for your business, anyone can create a Yelp page for your business. They cannot edit it. I mean, they could just create the basic business listing and then leave you a review. They cannot edit or change anything. But it is important to claim your business listing, make sure that the information is up to date in it. And there are a couple of additional reasons behind that. Yelp does influence search engine optimization very, very highly, and you can't respond to Yelp reviews unless you have claimed your business listing. Now, reviews that are filtered, and if you do have a business listing on Yelp and you're wondering about why this is, Yelp filters reviews out for a couple of reasons. One, if you solicit reviews and you get a whole bunch of them at the same time, so say you got 15 great reviews on Yelp, Yelp will filter those off. And that happens because a business might say, oh, I need to boost my Yelp profile. I'm going to send an email out to my email distribution list saying, hey, can you give me some help? Please leave me a review on Yelp. Some of the other primary reasons that they filter them out are incomplete reviewer profiles. So if someone sets up a personal Yelp account in order to review people and they don't fill it out, they don't have a avatar like this guy does, and a description, and they've only posted in one place. So say they've only posted one other review, or yours was the very first review, the odds that that review is going to get filtered out is very high. Now, Yelp reviews can also get sent into other places as well. They can get fed into Twitter and into Facebook. And again, they do show up in Google search. So anything posted in a Yelp review can show up in Google. And be careful of your review responses. Just because the first inclination that people have when they respond to reviews is, oh my God, somebody left me a bad review, what do I do? And many times they won't carefully read the review. They won't see if there's some positives in it, because as a business owner, you focus on the things that are negative. So I've seen business owners jump on reviewers that said, oh, this place was wonderful, the owner was fabulous and so helpful, and the pricing was just what we needed, and we found everything within 5 minutes, and they were great, they helped us out to the car, but the rug in the front was a little slippery, or the lighting wasn't that great, or maybe the guy that was checking them out had to took a couple minutes longer and had to put a new print receipt spool in, and we were running a little late for dinner, and it was a little inconvenient. Those little things out of a review are many times something that a business owner will focus on, and they'll completely ignore the positive stuff. And this is a good example of that. This was a fantastic review that someone wrote, and there was a couple of small, very, very minor comments about things that the owner took extremely personally. Now, know when to stop engaging with someone. And this is across all social media networks. It's called basically don't feed the trolls. Because when you start engaging with someone on social media, especially if it was a negative experience, someone that just had a bad hair day, they just had a bad experience, if you engage with them, it's feeding the fire. So what might have started out as something that was fixable, instead of taking it right offline, as I suggested earlier, and saying, hey, please contact us right away so we can try to fix this, turns into something much, much worse. And this is where the other people, the other trolls, what they call them online, jump into this. And this is where you start to see nasty comments about things like this. At that point, stop. If you have a Facebook business page that has blown up for whatever reason, you can delete the page. What I would suggest, if there's something going on your Facebook business page that you don't know how to handle, do not delete the page. Do not engage with people. Take the page offline. What you can do is you can unpublish the page so no one can see it anymore. On Twitter, stop engaging. On Google+, stop engaging. Twitter and Google+, it does not happen as often as Facebook. Facebook is really where the trolls reside, and YouTube are where trolls reside. I would recommend, in terms of YouTube videos, just from personal experience and other people's personal experience, don't ever, ever, ever comment on a popular YouTube video, especially one that's been viral, because you will get trolled by someone taking something completely out of context. Now, learn from your reviews. I'll give you a good example of learning from your reviews specifically. I had a restaurant that I was working with last year that had hundreds and hundreds of reviews on Urban Spoon, on Yelp, on TripAdvisor, for example, and the mass majority of the reviews were good, but there was one thing that stuck out in all the reviews: comments about their French fries. And instead of initially, when they came to me to learn to figure out what was wrong, they were saying, well, we have all these great reviews, but then there's people commenting about the stuff negatively. And we went through and analyzed all of their past reviews and focused on the fact that, well, you obviously have a problem with either your cook or cooks that are cooking your French fries, your oil temperature that your fry later is at, or in a lot of cases, your oil just needs to be changed a lot more frequently. So when you start getting a lot of reviews online, use this as a learning experience, because you can analyze and use the reviews to improve your business. And when you're giving a review response, take that into account. So if someone mentioned this, for example, about a mildew musty smell, air conditioner worked fine, you can say, thank you for leaving that. We love the suggestions, and we'll make sure that the next time it's so hot, we'll have the air conditioner on ahead of time, or we'll leave the screen door open. Things that are coming up like this, water pressure, anything that people complain about, unless it's a personal opinion, I didn't like my haircut, is a personal opinion. But, half of my hair is orange and the other half is red, it's obviously an issue rather than a personal expression. So learn to look at your reviews and analyze them. The number one thing that I would recommend that you do when you respond to reviews is don't respond right away. And this is key, because a review, even if it's a good one with some minor negative points, will always have that heartstring pull, because you take it personally. It's your business. So if someone says something even remotely negative, the first thing a business owner is going to do is take it in a negative way. So write your review response. Never, ever, ever write it into the platform you're reviewing on. Most of them do let you change it at some point after it's published, but by then it's too late. Write it into Microsoft Word or whatever other format that you want to put it into, and then think about it. Sleep on it. Look at it the next day. Analyze it. Send it out to some other people that you know and trust, and get their impression on this, especially if it's an important one, because you want to make sure that you're responding the correct way. You're not responding defensively. Even if people are fruitcakes and they just had their knickers in a twist about it, if you don't know how to respond appropriately, just say, we're sorry. please contact us. We will try to fix it. You can't always fix it, but at that point you go back to, it's not the person reading the review, but the thousands of people after that that are reading your response, because you can't realistically please everybody all the time. If you do have a reviewer that's threatening you with blackmail, there are ways on most media platforms to report that. On Yelp, you can report blackmails, on TripAdvisor, on Urban Spoon, on Google+, on Twitter, on Facebook, although Facebook won't do much about it. But on all of those, you can respond to review blackmailers. The other thing you can do is call them out publicly on this. That's the one thing that I say as a last resort. I do know someone on Google Plus that did not get their Google Plus review removed by somebody that threatened them. And they posted in their review response exactly what happened, and the fact that that reviewer threatened them with blackmail, and that actually got the reviewer to remove the reviews completely. So calling them out on that sometimes can help, but again, I recommend that as a last resort. So as you can see, short and sweet. If you can't say anything good, I shouldn't say don't say anything at all, but just we're sorry you had a bad experience and move on to it. And sometimes, of course, you can't fix it. And if you can't, you can chalk it down to experience. Now, the one thing about reputation management online that's super, super important is this is the old days. One person that had a great experience or a great time or bought a great product told 7 people. If they had a bad one, they told 3 to 5. Now, in the digital age, this has exploded beyond belief. Because if someone's had a great meal at a restaurant, they went shopping at your store, or used your financial services and had a really great experience both with product and service, or specifically whatever you offer, they're going to tell a lot of people about that. And not only will they verbally tell them, many times they'll review a place and they will post it online. So for example, I had a great restaurant experience a couple of months ago, and I don't frequently write reviews. It has to be either really, really good or really, really bad for me to write a review. And in this case, I wrote them a positive review online, and I actually posted on my internal Facebook page that they never saw. Hey, anybody where I live, we found this great new restaurant up here. My husband had this and I had this, and it was fantastic. And people know me and they know, well, I don't usually say stuff like that, so it must be really good. So, I mean, just keep in mind that there are places that people might talk about your business, like first Facebook personal pages, for example, that you may not actually see. So be aware that that digital medium has brought it back, and the potential of more and more people seeing a review and a notification about your business has exploded beyond way, way, way what it was 10 years ago. Now, buying reviews is something there are companies out there that will offer. I would not recommend doing it. It is against the terms of service of all media platforms to do that, and you can get in trouble for that. Yelp will flag your account. If you have a listing on TripAdvisor, they will flag your account. Many social media platforms will also flag things for payment if that becomes apparent. Now I'll put this up and I'll talk about asking for reviews. Now most businesses on average, if you're a small business, you have between 1 and 5 reviews scattered all over the internet. Realistically, people buy based on A, what people tell them, and B, what people see online, and C, they're influenced by whether they use a product or service reviews. Now, most people do take reviews with a grain of salt, but if something is reviewed by someone that they know, for example, then that's more heavily weighted. Or if they see 50 reviews by people that all have different wording, and that's important, saying, we went to this chiropractor, he helped my back, he helped my feet, he cured my back pain, and then have the occasional not so great one thrown in there. People do look at that and take that as a whole. Now, how to ask for reviews politely. You do want to ask people, but not in the stance of, you don't want to send an email out to your mailing list saying, we'd love it if you'd review us on Yelp and Google Plus and give us a star rating on Facebook. Because A, that'll ding you on Yelp because you'll have a bunch of good reviews that come in. It'll ding you on Google Plus. Not that they filter reviews, but people looking at all of those reviews will say that, oh, they all got reviewed at the same time. They must be paid, they must be friends, or there must have been an incentive involved. Now, paying for reviews can also fall into giving an incentive. So if you sent an email out to your customer base, for example, that says, leave us a review on Google Plus and get 10% off your next product or service, that is also against most platforms' terms of service. So you have to be careful with that. Now, are they customers or not? And this can happen, as I mentioned. A hairstylist might get, the person down the street got the wrong person. You need to call people out on that if they're not customers. And give some specifics about it. Who are they? Okay, Todd Job. Were they a real person or not? Even if they weren't a real person or not, you still need to consider this person as a real person because you don't know. So try to find them. If you have customer records, look them up. If you know for a fact that they weren't in there, then say something about it, but be polite. Now, to go back to asking for reviews, you can ask for reviews. I would recommend it, but I would suggest segmenting it out to specific customers. So if you have a mailing list and you have 200 customers on it and 50 of them are your best repeat customers, draft up an email and send it out to 10 of them at a time or 5 of them at a time. And don't ask for reviews. Say, in an effort to improve our customer service and our product or service, we would love it if you would give us some feedback on whatever platform you feel the most comfortable with. And then list your Yelp page, list your Google Plus page, list your Facebook page, and ask them for feedback. You're not asking them for reviews. You know specifically that they've been good customers so that they're going to give you good feedback. Make sure that that's targeted. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to unmute you so you can talk directly to me, or you can ask your question on the bar to the right. So you guys are unmuted. Do you guys have any questions? Hello, hello. Okay. That's a good question. What do I think is the most influential one in terms of search engine optimization? Well, that's a tough one. Google reviews, I'm not sure what your businesses are that are on the line with me, but Google Plus reviews are very important. Yelp reviews are very, very important. Those would be the two primary ones that I would concentrate on. Facebook reviews kind of do get hidden, and Facebook posts themselves and reviews kind of sporadically make it into search engine optimization results, but not all the time. I would say about 3%. Okay, there's another question coming in. So someone trolled me on Facebook. I deleted their comment, and now they left a negative review on Google Plus. How do I get rid of them? Okay, my question for the person that asked that is, do you know for a fact that this person was not a customer? Okay, it was just a random person. Okay, so what I would do is go to your Google Plus page, and have you claimed your Google Plus page? Okay, that would be the first step, is claim your Google Plus page and respond to the reviewer saying, you know, we find, just like the slide, and I'll go back here a couple, we found, there we go, you know, we're sorry you had a bad experience. We tried to look up your name, couldn't find you. Please call us so we can fix it. And again, that kind of puts the troll in their place, and it also tells whoever else is looking for that, because people are not going to be looking at that review knowing whether it's a real person, whether it's been a customer or not. And, you know, again, it's for all those thousands of other people that are going to be looking at that forever after. Are there some suggested ways to, I'm trying to figure out what that means. Suggested ways to respond to a review that's having a really, really bad, as you put it, hair day. Well, again, you know, don't respond to a reviewer right away. I mean, in this age of screenshots, people can take a snapshot of the review. You know, once you've submitted a review on Google Plus or on Yelp, that response review goes directly to that person first. So even if you go and change it, they've already read that. And then actually, thank you for bringing that up, because that reminds me of something that's important. If you do have someone respond to you on Yelp, for example, you need to respond to them privately first. If you don't respond to them privately first and you just respond to them publicly, Yelp generally will not let you publish your review response. Try to respond to someone first privately on Yelp. If they do not respond within a week, then post something publicly. And you can also put in your review response publicly at that point, saying, we've tried to reach out to you privately to resolve this and received no response. We are still trying to resolve this. Again, please contact us. Please contact us so we can try to resolve this issue. Now, what I would recommend in terms of review responses is go find your reviews. Again, learn from them, and go out and find your competitors' reviews and also learn from them. Are there specific things that people are saying about your competitors that they're not saying about you? And more importantly, why? Okay, and I do have one more question coming in. Should you respond to good reviews? My personal feeling about responding to good reviews is yes. I know that there are people out there that says, well, you don't need to respond to good reviews. I don't agree with that. And the reason being is, if someone had a really good experience, they took the time out to actually go online and think about and write down a review. So that means they had a good experience generally. You know, people that had sort of meh experiences, those are not the people that leave reviews. It's the negative ones or the positive ones. So think about the time spent that they actually logged into whatever platform that they're leaving it on and took a few minutes to actually write something out and say, thank you for leaving a response. We really appreciate the feedback. And be specific if they're pointing specific things out. Don't just have a generic response to this. I've seen restaurants do this on Urban Spoon, and this is a good example of things not to do, is every single positive review response says, thanks for coming into the restaurant. We're really glad you enjoyed it, and so glad you had a great meal. We hope you come back soon. That's in every single review response, and it's canned. If you're going to respond to the review, especially positive ones, take 2 extra seconds like that person took to rate the good review, and thank them for the review and say, you know, specifically, thanks for this particular feedback on this. We appreciate it. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay. As I mentioned earlier, this has been recorded. If you did have any questions about it, I'd be happy to email the link out. Please do make sure and download the handout that is to the right. And again, I can email that to you if you miss it. And thank you so much for attending the webinar today. and I hope to talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.